Hello, everyone. Welcome to Arash's World. And today we have a very special guest. We have the filmmaker, David Gerson, on our show. Hi, David.
Hi, so nice to meet you.
How are you doing today?
Great, great.
Okay, you're very busy promoting an excellent documentary. And so the title is The Story Won't Die. And let's talk about it. I've seen it. I have some ideas. I have some comments to make. But let's just start off by saying what it's about and any other things you'd like to add.
Sure. I mean, The Story Won't Die is a documentary about 8 different Syrian artists who are all now living in exile, that goes through how they used their various mediums. We've got choreographers, breakdancers, post-rock musicians, rappers, visual artists, how they used their work to protest Assad during the uprising in 2011, and then how they used it to process the subsequent refugee journey out of Syria.
I really like how you mentioned processing, and it's that twofold thing. Yes, there is a protest, but it's also individually trying to process, and it's like a whole gamut of different art forms. And so I see it in two ways. There's the microscopic part of it. It's like really focusing on an issue that's been going on for such a long time, and it's causing the havoc and has devastating ramifications, individual and collective trauma. But at the same time, and this is what I want to focus on more, not so much the depressing part, is that the creative arts give us the power to heal emotionally, spiritually, and so on, and at the same time to create memorable art.
Yeah, and I don't know how much people heal. Right. I think it's the beginning of a journey that takes time, but I do feel that for the artists to put forward an expression of the horror that they have experienced, it allows other people who maybe haven't experienced the same thing, who may have grown numb to stories they've seen on the news, to live within the body for audiences around the world, so that they may have some symbol that they can hold on to remind them of what is still happening. And I think that's the great power of the artist, is to put forward something that can kind of bypass the intellectual mind, in the way that a song from the 60s, for example, might remind a Bob Dylan song will remind you of what was going on in the 60s United States. I feel like some of these artists are like the Bob Dylans of Syria.
Yeah. And so I've seen a previous documentary about Ron Bork, which was Terror and Hope, and it was focusing on resilience and these families. What I found impressive in yours too, I mean, so the focus was on trauma and children and how they deal with it, but yours was also showing the life of a refugee, and in a way that really humanizes them and helps us to see it, because we read about it in the news. I was a refugee a long time ago from Iran with my parents. Don't remember it, but it's something that I was familiar with. But at the same time, seeing it visually just also changed my mind in many ways, that there's so much suffering, so much hardship that I do not have access to and I can't comprehend. But I'm glad that you are focusing on and showing it as well.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like you, my father was born a refugee and came to the United States when he was young, and that horror that a refugee flees from, I think, lives on in the body and lives on generation to generation. And so part of this is my coming to understand what my father's experience was like, and also, is there a chance that if we do not, that if the artist, for example, but the human being, does not shy away from looking into the darkness and horrors of war, but rather tries to give voice to the expression, how might that help in this process of confronting those pains for generations to come? And in many ways, when I was looking at these interviews, I felt almost like I was the children of some of these friends of mine. So yeah.
And you answered one of the questions I had. What was the inspiration there? So now that kind of explains it. What drew you towards that? And I think in a similar way, that resonated with me because of those experiences. And so when we talk about peace, justice, freedom of expression, I mean, they are really fighting for those things. And we see it in places like Canada, like the US, where we have so much peace comparatively and justice and freedom of expression, but we're complaining about a lack of it. And so it's like really putting things into perspective and into context, like, look, this is something completely different, like not having freedom of expression, as you express in a documentary, that is an issue, not whether, you know, you wear a mask or don't wear a mask. Those things on the grand scale do not matter, right? But we make it so big. And I think it's like a wake-up call for people to realize, look, there's something else out there, and what you're complaining about is not an issue. It's a non-issue.
You know, if someone's finger hurts, okay, their pain is pain. You know, who am I to
Sure. No, I agree.
Suffering,
yeah.
But certainly for me as an American, getting into the process of making this film, I really came to understand how much I didn't even realize what it means to have freedom of expression. The rapper in the film, Abu Hajar, he does a lyric saying the driver of this car is weird, as a way of sort of speaking about Assad without directly speaking of Assad. And those lyrics got him tortured for months on end, imprisoned. You know, if people click a like on one of his music videos in Syria, they could go to jail. You know, this is a lack of freedom of expression. And if anything, I think the most human thing there is, certainly as an American, we this is part of our Constitution, is the idea that you should be able to express yourself. And seeing how that really is limited, both through social media, through media in general, but then also through the arts, and how voices were forced to be suppressed, and yet how these artists resisted that suppression and still boldly went forward to express the horrors and the screams, the cries of their time and of their world, to me is one of the great inspiring human characteristics I've encountered. And so it's really been an honor to document that process in this film. Heroic acts, really. These are heroic acts of like really standing up, and it's like a lot is at stake. Like everything is at stake in these cases. But I think part of, I see things in an optimistic way. So I do think, and personally, and this has been my experience, that yes, we can heal. It will take a lot of time. Absolutely. It would take a lot of effort. But I think one thing that you're mentioning, definitely delving into that, expressing it, is really important. And that takes, again, a lot of courage too, of being vulnerable and talking about those experiences. And I applaud every one of them. But at the same time, and as a wannabe artist myself, as a writer and occasional filmmaker, whenever I can, is that connection with the arts, that personal connection. When it comes from like a place of suffering, or you want to express something really badly, which I try to do with my podcast too, it becomes so much more authentic, and I think it's so much more meaningful. So for them, I strongly believe that the arts, whether it was singing, rapping, visual arts, dancing, really help them connect with themselves in many ways. And that is the beauty of the arts. Absolutely. Beautifully said. Thank you. Yeah. And what I also love, and this is again well-deserved, is that you have won a Best Director award at the Doc LA Film Festival. Congrats. Thank you. As well as the Best Feature Documentary in Guadalajara. Yeah. I was in the Morelia Film Festival, and I'm familiar with that, but the Guadalajara is actually even bigger in my view. So again, well done. Thank you so much. Yeah, so how was the experience of getting that recognition too, and again being a spokesperson for these wonderful Syrian young people, this young generation? Yeah, I mean, it's really been an honor for me. We started this film and its festival run. We've now been going exactly for a year, and thrilled that it's about to come out into theaters and online. We started this run at Hot Docs, went on to AFI Docs, won Best Director and Best Doc Feature, as you said. That's been an honor, sharing it with the Syrian community who has seen the film and embraced the film, and in certain instances been made to feel less alone in their experiences, has been a great I don't know, honor, I should say, again, of sharing this film. We've also been able to bring it to the German embassy in Washington through the State Department. I've spoken. We spoke at the Oslo Freedom Forum. You know, it's a mixture of just making a movie and, of course, a sense of kind of activism and purpose. And you know, I'm not naive enough to think that a film can change policy in Washington or around the world.
It helps, though.
I do believe that, you know, if we can see the faces, the humanity of who we often as a nation, as a world, tend to close borders and doors to, if we start by seeing our shared humanity, I think that door is a little bit harder to close. And that's, you know, just sharing, again, that you know, the people in this film are really just kind of, I feel like my collaborators and friends and people that I'm inspired by. And so I just hope the world gets to meet them and share and celebrate their work together.
And for exposing us to Syrian rap and post-rock and all-girls band. I mean, that's just fascinating. That's not something we would usually see in the media. So, but I also like the fact that it also validates your work. So, and to continue on these paths. So, do you have any other major products in mind? I know it's thinking ahead, but anything you'd like to share, or is documentaries something you're going to continue with, or you're also an actor as well? So how has that re-energized your passions for film?
You know, in many ways, doing a documentary is you're almost like a scene partner with the person that you're interviewing. You know, being there. This project started as a way for me to do research for a narrative film, and we are now, you know, putting together this narrative film that's loosely related to this story set in Greece. And I have other sort of television projects and you know, but everything I do in some regards deals with political issues that I can't quite seem to understand or wrap my mind around, and kind of how the arts or humanizing stories, you know, help me personally to process some of the bigger questions of our times.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the arts again. I think. Thank you so much. You're more than welcome at Arash's World again. Once you have your work, it's going to be amazing. I already know in advance. Thank you so much, David Gerson, to be here again. The documentary is called "The Story Won't Die." It's an impassioned plea here for arts, but also for what is going on in the world, especially here when we talk about Syria, the suffering that has happened over the years. And we wish each of these people, real people here, real life people, the very best so that they can come out of it much stronger. But they have shown already a lot of courage and resilience. So I highly applaud that. Thank you again for being on Arash's World.
Thank you. And if you're in LA on June 10th, we'll be playing for a week at the Lemley Glendale, and I hope you'll come see it.
I'll be thinking about it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Take care.